Start by putting your egg whites into a scrupulously clean bowl. This is really important because any drop of fat or grease may well affect how well your egg white whips up. Into your egg whites you want to add a pinch of salt, and this is optional, but 1/8 teaspoon of cream of tartar. Cream of tartar will strengthen your egg white if you want extra stability in your pavlova. Or a little tip for you, slightly older egg whites whip up to a beautiful meringue. You'll see just how it's going to change from a translucent liquid into a white foamy texture. We want to keep going until you've got some really relatively stiff peaks going, and at that point and at that point only you can begin to add your sugar. Now I filmed this in real time because I really want you to see how slowly I'm adding the sugar. A lot of people have said to me that their meringues or pavlovas collapse, and part of the reason of this is because they just dump the sugar in all at once, which is going to it's going to do two things. It's going to knock the air out of the meringue that you've previously whipped, but also you're going to end up with a really gritty texture, and what we're after is a silky smooth texture. And when it's finished, you'll see that you'll end up with a really stiff and glossy meringue, and they're meant to say that you should be able to turn the bowl up over your head and the meringue will stay put. That's when you know it's ready. Now at this point we add our flavouring. I'm using a teaspoon of vanilla, really good quality vanilla paste here, but if you wanted a chocolate meringue, this is when you would fold in your cocoa powder, or if you were going for a raspberry meringue, a freeze-dried raspberry powder would go in. This is the stage that you add it. You can see I'm folding it very, very gently. Now add in a teaspoon of white wine vinegar and your corn flour. These two ingredients are really important when you're making a pavlova as opposed to a standard meringue. The pavlova will not taste like vinegar, I promise, but it does an important job because the acid in it will help the egg whites hold on to the air, and the corn flour will help give that lovely moussey texture, which is what characterizes the inside of a pavlova. You'll see that I am folding slowly because I don't want to knock any of the air out, so don't go crazy at this stage. You just want to combine. I've drawn out a 6-inch circle onto some greaseproof, and I'm using this as my marker to create my pavlova base. Now there are many different ways you can create pavlova bases. You can do them as discs and layer them up, so you put your cream and fruit in between and maybe make 3 pavlova stacks, or you can just create one big round flat disc. What I am doing here is I'm trying to create more of a pom-pom or a bulb shape, so we say. So I'm after something that's got a little bit of height to it. This is inspired by an American cookery writer and blogger, Zoe Bakes from Minnesota, and she has posted the most beautiful tall and fluffy looking pavlova. So that's what I've tried to emulate here, and you can see that I'm using a long spatula in order to do that. So I'm working up around the sides, and I am also pushing down in the middle so that I'm creating an area for where my fruit and topping is going to sit eventually. This will also help with cracking that will occur during the time in the oven. Now, once you are happy with your shape, you need to go ahead and clean the edges of your pavlova with a nice clean finger. And you'll see I've just put up what the pavlova will look like from the side view here, so you can just see both views. Now at this stage, once you're ready, you want to pop the pavlova into the oven. Details for that are below this video, and it's a slow, long drying out cook essentially. I tend to make my pavlova bases the night before I need them, turn them off, and then leave them in the oven overnight. So while your pavlova is cooking, let's get going with the topping. This is what you're going to need. We are going to be making a sexy boozy black cherry topping to go on top of our pavlova, and it's a really simple procedure. You want to use either pitted cherries, but fresh or frozen. I've used frozen here because they're not in season at the moment. And into my pan, I am putting my sugar. I am using a fairly tart juice, so I've gone for cranberry. You could use an unsweetened cherry juice as well. And I'm also adding, again, for a little bit of acidity, some lemon juice. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice go in there. And at this point, you can also add some alcohol. So I've gone for French brandy, which is a classic pairing with cherries. And that is it. I'm going to give everything a stir up, and then I'm going to leave it on the stove until it bubbles and reduces down to a thick, gloopy syrup. You don't want it too runny, but equally you don't want it too thick because you'll evaporate all of those juices. This will take around about 10 minutes, and once you are happy with the consistency of your syrup, take it off the heat and allow it to cool. My pavlova has baked for an hour and a half. It's been left overnight, and that is what it looks like now. So we're going to assemble the whole thing. So I'm taking my chocolate, which I've melted over a double boiler even. Good quality chocolate here, folks. You really want something at least with a minimum of 50% cocoa. Now, at this point, I was a little bit silly and didn't film that I actually drizzled some chocolate over the meringue. So you'll see that shortly. In the bowl here, I've just got some cream, and I'm using an electric whisk to whip that up to soft peaks. I'm not putting anything into the cream. I've already got booze in my cherries, and we've got some chocolate going in, so there's enough going on, but you could flavour the cream at this point if you wanted to. Once you've got lovely soft peaks into your cream, you then want to fold in the remainder of the melted chocolate, but please be aware that it doesn't want to be too hot. So something that is pretty temperate to touch, and then you just want to fold that into the cream to give you a lovely marbled, creamy chocolate mess, essentially. Now you'll see here, this is the zigzag chocolate that I forgot to film, and then on top of that, I'm now putting this lovely chocolate cream mixture. The chocolate underneath, when it sets, gives the really lovely crunch and added texture to the pavlova, which is why I like to do it. But you could omit that altogether. And once you've got your chocolate cream on, your final step is to add your lovely boozy condensed cherries. Now, I have a little bit of a confession to make. I slightly overdid mine, so they're not quite as runny as I would like them to have been. I did stir in a little bit of extra brandy, just allowed the juices to reactivate so that you can see, once I photographed it, you'll see that the juices have run down the side, and for me, I think that just looks fab, really. And you can then decorate the top of your pavlova with some fresh cherries if you like. Obviously, there are a trillion different things you can do with pavlovas. That's the beauty of them. They are so versatile. And I have suggested other recipes which you can find in Cake Decoration and Sugarcraft magazine. But there we go. That is it. My boozy lovers pavlova. I hope you enjoyed it. Please subscribe, guys, for more recipes, more cake art, and any questions, please just drop me a line below. Bye.